All right, so this was game one of series two. So let's talk about a couple things. After I leave the lobby, the voice chat or whatever, and then you have the loading screen and stuff, there are a couple things that I want you guys to look at. And number one is going to be the masteries of the other champions. So obviously you don't gain mastery points for custom games and stuff. So people who have played champions for the purpose of L5s, and we joke about the Sejuani low mastery and that type of stuff. However, that type of stuff is still useful because chances are somebody like this Lysandra who only has 400 or 600 mastery points isn't going to be good. Chances are they don't play, 400 custom games a week. They're not a fucking underground Lysandra one trick. And a lot of the players for this tournament aren't using Smurf accounts or anything to deviously, they get on one account and they play like certain champions, but really they have another account where they're playing other stuff. Most players at this level aren't doing that. So observe the masteries and then sort of like mentally predict in your head, am I going to win just based off of this? Like my champion versus their champion, and then my skill level on my champion versus theirs. So that's something that you should all be thinking about, number one. Number two, after I leave, Damien should be announcing what his intended first path is. Obviously, these things change, sometimes something happens on the map. Sometimes a gank is just too free. Sometimes there's an invade, and different stuff inside of the game. Maybe the jungler wanders a little bit too far into a lane or something, but he announcing to the rest of you guys what his first clear is would help you establish what your intent is, because whenever you walk into lane, your first thought should be, how much better am I than this player, if any, than my opponent? And your second thought should be, how can I capitalize and play around my team? And the number one way to do that, especially in low elo, the things that you guys aren't going to necessarily practice quite as much, is going to be wave management. So jungle saying, oh, like I'm going to take red to wraiths to bot scuttle, and then I'm going to invade here, means that as a mid laner, you want to not be shoving the wave hard at level 1. As a matter of fact, you might want to even give up a couple CS to Lysandra so that the wave shoves back into you. And this way you can play defensive because okay, my jungler is not going to be any help to me because he's going to look to get some counter jungling in. He's going to look to make an extensive clear. So I'm going to sit on back and not be gankable. Same for top lane. If he says, oh, I'm taking red to Raptors to blue to scuttle, and then I'm going to come and try to gank top. Then as a top laner, what that means is that you have a certain amount of time before he can feasibly make it to all these places on the map, here to here to here to here, and then maybe around back through this. So this buys you additional time. So what you can do as a top laner, if okay, he's going to be here right around the 330 mark or whatever it is, the 315. What you can do is you can set your wave up to be in a good position by then. So you can soft shove the first wave and then hard shove the second, bounce it into the tower. You'll get first minion on the second wave, which will give you level 2 first. So this is a common strategy in solo queue, just to get a first level 2 and then to get the first wave or the second wave into the tower to crash and then have it bounce back into you. And then depending on how slow your opponent pushes that wave, you can actually, if they choose to double or if they can triple stack the wave, then you can kind of just sit back as they gain their level 3 and even their level 4, and then you can get those levels 3s and 4s under your tower. And as long as you are not going to get dove, as long as they don't have a hyper aggressive early game jungler, then this is sometimes a good strategy. And this crash the second wave into the tower thing works perfectly with a jungler who wants to be top right around the 3-minute mark or the 330 mark, because you crash this wave. Well, if you crash a wave into tower, that means that the wave coming out after that is going to push back towards you inevitably, and there's nothing that your opponent can do about it. So now you've put your opponent in a spot where he now has to go place a ward here. Maybe he's already placed a ward down in river, so maybe this is not something that you can do. Maybe there's alternate gank paths, I don't know, but you put your laner in a position basically where he's overextended, and you plan this from the very first minion wave. You plan this from 15 seconds in the game. So you have set up your top laner for a 3-minute, a 3:15 gank, and you've done it at the 15-second mark. Wait, minions don't spawn at 15 seconds. Sorry. Coach, by the way. Okay, so we'll speed up things that don't matter. So we're taking a defensive opening. Obviously not optimal as our Scion isn't quite here on time, but that's okay. So we have 3 people here towards the top side. This is a little bit unnecessary. This means that you don't have vision down in bot river. So you have to be assuming that they have control over bot river. I'm not sure if actually... Yeah, so Caitlyn hasn't spotted out these players from where she's standing right now. So they could look to be making some sort of invade. Okay, then the ward spots them out. Okay, and then you're both just going to retreat. I don't expect any aggressive plays, throughout this tournament. I don't expect like level 1 invades and that type of stuff. This replay shit always lags my computer, so I know the FPS is going to go down as I increase the speed. But I also don't plan on doing anything about that, so. Okay. Let's take a look at the state of mid lane right now. So mid lane is getting shoved in. So this is going to go back towards Anivia. This is something that can be communicated by the mid lane. You can say, hey, the wave is shoving into me, and then you can let it shove, because this is something that we've discussed as a mid laner you might potentially want to do. You might potentially want to give Lissandra an early shove, and this sets Sejuani up for a early gank onto this Lissandra. She could have probably been ganked at level 2. Of course, you were getting vision control in river and executing towards a gank on top, so I'm not sure if that was something in comms, but something in comms, especially in the early game during the jungler's first clear, should be the state of your waves. Right now, let's count Scion's minions here. Scion's wave is actually shoving into turret. So this is a little bit of a sloppy gank, because Darius should recognize that the wave is shoving in, so he can just sit back, and he might walk up to CS one minion, and then he might just walk back to tower, because there's no reason for him to put himself in a state where he is at a minion disadvantage, especially against Scion, who is an early game lane bully. But Darius doesn't have a brain. However, it's not a good gank, so he gets away. Now, we see vision on this ward that Darius has placed. We know that this is going to last, 90 seconds or something, 95 seconds, 100 seconds. So we know that Darius is not going to have a ward once this expires. So what you can do as a jungler, and this is even true in solo queue or as a top laner, whatever, you can ping, not ping, but in the chat, you type 255 top. And then okay, 90, 95 seconds, 100 seconds from now. So you do a little bit of mental math and you say, okay, like 4:45 or something. 4:45, I'll be back top lane. If I can do math in my head, I'm not sure. But 4:45, I can come back top lane, and Darius will not have vision on this. So unless somebody provides him vision, he will not have any for the gank. Now, if as a jungler you communicate this, oh, I'm going to come top at 4:45, then Scion, your job is to make sure that the minion wave is in a state at 4:45 where Sejuani can actually gank this lane. So this starts to apply into wave management. And if you have questions about wave management, we can go over it in a different setting than this. But basically, you want to keep the lane in a basically balanced state and then unlock the lane sometime before the 4-minute mark, hard shove it into the tower and get it to bounce back out, just like we were talking about to hit early level 2. It's the same principle. You just bounce it back into the turret before like 4:15, and then if you can do that, then it's 30 seconds of the waves shoving. And Darius is a champion who typically shoves waves anyways, so then he'll just walk down the lane with it. He won't have a ward, and then Sejuani can just come top for a free kill if that's what Sejuani chooses to do. That is just an example of a small macro play that can be executed because we got vision on when this ward was placed, and it can be done in any lane. Obviously, Sejuani really wants to hit level 6, but does have early ganking utility between whatever, concussive blows, right? Or something. No, concussive blows is Braum. Oh my god. Coach, by the way. Okay, so Sejuani's just going to retreat back through topside jungle. Nunu doesn't have eyes or hands because he should be invading bot side right now and looking to see what he can get. But instead, he greeds, and he wants his top side. Now, let's take a look at whether or not this was a good invade. So you see Nunu passing through mid. Okay, this is a bad invade. And the reason for this, oh my god, fucking roach just fell off my ceiling onto my computer. Jesus Christ. Okay, that's a small heart attack, and I hope that he doesn't come anywhere near me for the duration of this video. But we're gonna stick it out, and we're gonna be brave. I really don't like roaches, but we're gonna be brave for this. So, yeah, if the video just randomly cuts, it means that I've cut it because the roach has attempted an attack on my life. So that's just where we're going to handle this situation. So, Jesus. All right, so mid does not have priority. Mid can communicate that mid doesn't have priority. I don't know if it's necessarily her job to. As a jungler, whenever you path through this tribe brush and you start looking to bush camp this, and you start looking for information on Nunu, you have to look around at the mid lane because that's going to be the lane that's going to be most likely to hit this area on the map first. So if you just click on over to mid lane or use your F keys or whatever and look on over here, you can see that Lissandra's wave is shoving. And you know this because she has an additional caster minion, and you can tell that Anivia, Anivia's not a champion with a lot of early game clear. Lissandra has Corrupting Pot, Anivia does not, and Anivia is already very, very low on mana, so she's not going to be able to hard shove this wave. Lissandra has more mana, so you know that Lissandra is going to be able to respond to an invade first. In this situation, you might just pop through the jungle. If you have a ward, you can place a ward maybe at Raptors or something just to track Nunu. Like you would come into this brush, and then you would just place a ward right on over here somewhere, and then you would just leave. And you would see Nunu doing the Raptors, and that way you can just ping, hey, he's topside, because you don't need to know where the jungler is on the map specifically, and that's a misconception that a lot of lower elo players have. Like, they need to know where the champions are. You don't need to know where they are. You just need to know the general quadrant of the map. Like, are they top red side, top blue side, whatever. So you just need to know the quadrant, but you don't need to know the exact camp that they're on. So this is a bad invade. Very greedy. I mean, you have a level advantage on Nunu, and so you're saying, like, okay, like I can take this duel. But also Lissandra should have been there first. And the fact that Lissandra is not there first is just so fucking terrible. So Lissandra comes in, get the W. Nunu jukes the W there. Okay. Nivea gets a good stun. And Lissandra's going to be able to walk out of this one. So this ended up working. That doesn't mean it's a good play, and it doesn't mean that it's the correct play. Having a level advantage over the enemy jungler is not the only thing that you need to take into consideration. You need to look at the state of mid lane. And obviously this can work because this is low elo, and their comms are bad as well. Just as bad as anybody else's is. So you can say, like, oh, well, they're not going to be effectively communicating that they have priority mid or whatnot. And that's true. But trying to rely on your enemies to make mistakes rather than yourself to play good is not the correct way to play this game. Now you're coming back into top lane, and you're making me nervous here because you're only at half HP against a Darius. But you do have the red buff ticking, so you get a little bit of regen back. Now, at this point, you put a what would be called a pressure gank onto Darius. So let's think about things from Sion's perspective for a moment. Darius has just backed off because Sejuani has come through the lane. Darius's lane is shoving. Sion has one charge of corrupting left. He's relatively low on health, relatively low on mana. Does Darius have lethal? Maybe. Darius has flash. He has conqueror. At the very least, he can get a flash out of you. So you don't need to queue this wave, and you don't need to try to apply any pressure to Darius. This lane is already going to shove into you. You can just let it shove into you and then CS it under your tower. You know that Darius probably wants to back as well. I mean, he's chugging a pot right now, but he's only at half mana. It's 4 minutes into the game. Darius could reasonably go back and buy a pair of boots. He could go back and buy a ruby crystal or a longsword or something. So maybe Darius wants to go back. If the lane crashes into the tower, especially because Darius's ward is expiring. And by the way, you know this, if you're tracking this ward. So you know that Darius doesn't have any vision, he doesn't have full health, he doesn't have full mana, and he doesn't have a corrupting pot, so he's not going to be able to recover that. So Darius probably wants to leave. Darius doesn't want to be overextended. But if you queue this wave right here, you're allowing Darius the opportunity to be overextended. And I'm speaking from the perspective of Scion, but this applies to mid lane. This applies to bot lane. Like, these are things that you can take into solo queue. This is not just a competitive's idea. This is a fact of the game. This is a fact of top lane. Okay, so Sejuani coming back into the jungle there, and you're sitting on 1,100 gold. So before clearing, just go back, buy Bombi Sender. It has really good synergy with the Hunter's Talisman. You don't need to prioritize Smite. You can just go back, buy the Sender, buy a Control Ward, and you don't have to worry about these camps. You can leave that blue buff up for you. And the reason for this is that you're going to waste the blue buff in some capacity. So you have half a blue buff already taken. Now, you can go and clear this blue, but you already had, half of a blue. So then you wasted like half of a blue. And then what would you do after blue? Are you going to clear Gromp and Wolves and then recall and then walk back to bot side? Because then that entire time that you recalled and walk back, you're wasting ticks on that blue. So I'm kind of curious what's going to happen here. You do elect straight for the blue. This is just, it's not good. Like, if you are going to stay here for some reason, and to be clear, I don't think that you should, but if you are going to stay for some reason, you just start the Gromp. In that circumstance, you would just start the Gromp. Okay, so you recall to avoid Nunu's vision, even though Nunu backed off, and you saw it because of this ward, I think. So I don't know. Now, so you had half a blue that you wasted, and now you just recalled. You didn't even clear this top side, and yeah. So this is just a little bit of a blunder there in terms of pathing. We'll take a look at what's going on in bot lane. Okay. So here's the thing. This doesn't look like you're overextended. Like from where you were in the lane. Like if I showed you like 3 seconds ago and said like, oh, you're overextended, you'd be like, no, not really, because we have a ward here in brush, and it's not a shallow ward either. It's a halfway through the brush, so this is pretty good. Here's the thing you have to take into consideration. Nunu is a champion that just runs at you really fast, so he can close very far distances, and this is true for like any jungler that runs Predator like Hecarim. This is also true for champions that can surprise you like Udyr. This is also true for champions with blinks or stealths like Shaco or Twitch, although I don't expect to see either of those being picked in the jungle during the split, just saying for solo queue knowledge and stuff. So this type of a ward, it gives you security, but it doesn't actually give you the vision that you need against these types of champions. This ward needs to be pushed further up into the river. And if you knew that there was a control ward there before, and that's the argument against a ward being placed further up, at least get it out of the brush and get it like against a wall so that the control ward can't see it, because this gives you a lot more vision. If the ward is here, it maybe covers like up to this spot, which gives you a lot more time to react. Because truthfully, in fives, and something that I've seen you doing in every game, is not respecting the enemy jungler. So if he's on that side of the map, like, you're not being punished for it because you're in low elo. But if you're in high elo and the jungler is on your side of the map, like, you back off. Like, unless you're significantly ahead or you've poked them out to a degree where they simply cannot join in a gank, you back off entirely. Like, you play way back, you get like maybe 1 CS out of 3, and you just play extremely safe and let the jungler just leave on his own, or wait until you have vision of him so that you know that he's left. But you guys don't respect the enemy jungler here. And Snowball connects. Net, flash, barrier used on Soraka. Ignite, bomb picked up. Okay. So you've burned 3 summoner spells? Yeah, 3 summoner spells now in bot lane, and all you have is the heal on the Caitlyn. Now, nothing is preventing Nunu from just walking out of your vision, this ward's up, in a couple seconds. He doesn't know necessarily that this is warded, but nothing is preventing him from just walking out of your vision, maybe walking up, clearing one camp, and then just re-ganking you. And if I saw you come back to lane with this amount of HP between both of you, knowing that I just burned a couple summoner spells, that's what I would do if I were a jungler. I don't know if he has a brain, though, so we'll see. He's going to get his Gromp. And let's see what Nunu's doing. Okay, so he is snowballing back into bottom lane. Okay. Double bomb. Nunu picks up, and Caitlyn's dead. Just like that. Now, the fact of the matter is, if this were, and I realize that it's not, but if this were higher elo, this play would have never happened because you would know, oh, jungler is bot side, and you don't know where he went after he left. So you haven't gotten vision of him. And so there's no reason for you to assume that he would just leave and never come back to your lane. So this is just not respecting the jungler. And I think part of this is just that as a player pass, that you are just used to being able to disrespect your opponents and get leads like that. And that is okay in solo queue. But this is competitive fives. So the game has to be played a little bit differently. You have to respect the team. You don't have to respect the players, but you do have to respect the team. Looks like we're going to have a kill coming down on the Darius. Maybe not. Flashes out. Okay. Mid lane is hella out of mana. Yikes. Using the ability and not getting it. Feels bad, man. Okay, and now the enemy team is going to set up for Dragon, which is the correct play because they just got to kill bottom. Now, you know that they just got to kill bottom, so this is the correct play. So Sejuani comes over, drops the ward to see if they are doing Dragon. As it turns out, they are. Now, I think... Well, I'm not going to say that. So let's see what happens here. Nope. Okay. So you just tried to hop in, tried to calculate it. You're actually pretty close, so can't say anything about that. Now you're just going to be able to go, retrieve your red buff there. And we'll look at the lanes once they reset. So this pathing, Sejuani is a little bit unfortunate. So you take this red, and then you're just going to run into your top side, but you have no camps to get. I think what happened was you cleared blue side, and then Dragon was going on, so you were like trying to think that you could steal Dragon, and then the red buff spawned, so you took that. I think that maybe in the future for these types of things, because you know that they have a control ward on Dragon, I think as soon as you plop the ward over and see that they have a control, and you get a vision that a couple champions are attacking this, you're not going to go in 1v3 and steal this. I mean, obviously, like outplays happen. And even if you have like a level advantage, like you're level 5, he's level 4, so you get that extra 20 damage on your smite. But the chances of that happening are so low. Smite steals occur at high elo against great players. But this is silver, and nobody, or gold even, and nobody really knows how to smite. So I wouldn't really go for the smite fight. You're saying, well, if nobody knows how to smite, then I have a better chance of stealing. Kind of. Oh, shit. Roach is back. Hold on. Yeah, fuck you, asshole. Get the fuck off my shit. Yeah. All right. I think I got him. I only had to spray my cup down with poison. So I'll have to remember not to drink from that cup. But yeah, I think you plot vision. You see there's a couple people attacking dragon. I think at this point you just back off. I think your red buff had spawned. And so you could just go take the red and maybe recall, because you're not going to look for a gank, because when they come off of dragon, they're going to be grouped, so you're not going to be able to gank anyone. And then you just recall and walk into your top side. And the only reason you're taking red buff there, because it is still wasteful to take it and then just immediately recall, but the only reason you're taking it is that they can't use their numbers advantage because they did group. And your Soraka was low, so she wouldn't have been very much help in a fight. So you're just taking it to deny the invade. Sometimes you take buffs because you want buffs, and sometimes you take buffs to deny buffs. So that's a denial. So you're going to path back top side. Anivia pinging the missing. Doesn't have any mana. Just start auto-attacking this, dude. Just be auto-attacking it constantly. I mean, you don't have, like, very much. I think you have enough for a Q. No. So if you had been, like, auto-attacking consistently from the beginning, by the time that you did get 90 mana, you would have had enough to Q the casters and just kill them all. And then I think that your wave would have walked into the tower beforehand. But now you're in a really, really, really bad spot. So this is, like, the opposite of what to do for wave management. Not to pick on you here, but like when you're playing a resource champion or a champion who's very dependent on resources, like Sion, for example, has lower mana costs and higher cooldowns. He doesn't have like a spammable E. He doesn't have like a constant drain R and that type of stuff. So Sion, it doesn't matter quite as much. But like Anivia, you really need to be on top of your mana management, and you need to manage the wave effectively so that you can be on top of your mana. Sorry. So knowing little tricks like that, like auto attack and things to prep them so that everything dies in like 1Q and that sort of stuff, because you really want to recall right now. You don't want to slow push this wave because you know that Lysandra is elsewhere, and you can assume that she backed. And she's going to come back with full health, full mana, and she's going to be able to outshove you because she has mana. And then from that point, she can hold you in lane. If I'm Lysandra right here, I reset the wave so that it's not hard pushing into me, which is what she does. And then I slow push this into you to make my intent clear that I'm going to push this into your tower. And if I am a Lysandra with eyeballs, I know that you don't have teleport right now. I wasn't watching when you used it, but Lysandra should have been. And then I slow push this to show you that I can slow push it. And then when this wave rolls up, the cannon wave, I hard shove that. Because my cannon wave is also coming in. So then I hard shove this and I force you to CS cannon wave under tower with no mana. Or I force you to recall. And either way, if you choose to stay in CS, then I can poke you with my spells because I have Corrupting Pot, I have Lost Chapter, I have Dark Seal. So I have significant item advantage right now. I have a ton more mana agency than you do. So I can get a lot of poke on you under the tower. And then I can call for my jungler and maybe even get a gank and maybe get a kill out of it. At the very least, I can pop your passive if you stay to farm that cannon wave under tower. If you don't, then you give up cannon wave. So that's a lot of gold. So if I'm a competent Lysandra player, you've just fucked yourself. Okay. Bot lane. I saw this trade live when it happened. I think that's maybe just an example. You don't see Kog'Maw very much. So he does outrange you pretty significantly. So Joanie comes down. Lysandra was roaming up. I don't know why Lysandra is roaming. That's good discipline to not Q towards Lysandra or even throw a skill shot her way. I'm assuming that you knew that she tossed her E out. I'm not sure what Lysandra is doing here. Clearing the control ward literally doesn't matter. She should be back in mid lane shoving Anivia in right now. Lysandra needs to let Anivia know that Anivia cannot back. And Lysandra isn't doing that. So you're not like, see, and then you're just afforded the opportunity to do that to the wave. I don't know why Lysandra is allowing this to happen. This is the, all right, I'll replay this just for the people who didn't see it live. So we'll just take a look at this gank. See, Sion's pretty low, right? So Darius is feeling pretty good about this. Zoning them off. Right. Q. And there's that. And the stun. And the auto attack. And Darius is dead. So that's hella unfortunate. When I saw that live, I was absolutely disgusted. So Sejuani, you need to stay and push this wave out. Yeah, you fucked yourself. So in solo queue, like when my junglers do this type of shit to me, they get flamed a little bit, you know, like not like hard flame, but that like you guys need to shove this out because you should know like where the minions are on the map because I called it before I saw it happen. I didn't watch this live, but I just saw from the lane state that this wasn't going to work. Like right here, you should know. Your casters are here, okay? And you're even poised to be ahead of the wave. So you thought about like clearing this and then thought, nah, the casters are going to make it under the tower. I think that's what was happening here. Or maybe you thought, well, I don't have enough mana to really spam abilities to clear the wave anyways. I don't know what Nargis is saying on Sion. I don't know if he's saying that the wave is going to get there, but that needs to be a question or it needs to be a command. Push or don't push. But let me present you a different option on this gank. Okay. Okay. Right here, walk away. Walk back into the tower and recall. That's your other option. Because you can look at the state of the lane, and you could have looked at this while you were in the brush, and obviously you sat there for like a second, placing the control ward, making sure there wasn't any vision, and then letting Darius walk up to line up your Q ult. You can look at the state of the lane, and Damien, you are the shot caller of the team. As jungle, your primary shot caller. That's how I expect it to be. So you need to be vocal, and you need to be competent, and you need to be knowledgeable about a lot of things, which like not to place like a lot of like stress or pressure on you or anything, but while you're in this brush, count the minions, you know? And after this guy dies, and constantly be looking at the minions during this gank. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 casters. 1, 2, 3. Bleed stacks on some of them. 3 melees. One's about to die. So 2 melees versus 1, and 5 casters versus 3. You get the kill. Both of you just walk back to tower. This wave slow pushes in, but it sets up like a permafreeze, like right here. And even if by like some bad RNG, like some melees walk into tower range, Sion would be able to collect on that XP at least as he was walking back and catching the wave. And now Darius is overextended. You know that he doesn't have vision because that gank was just successful. In order for Darius to commit resources to clear the vision, he'll have to face check a brush, which has a control ward in it, so he can't get any permanent vision on this situation. And you can essentially set up like a double gank like this because, you know, Darius is now dead for 20 seconds. If Nargis is watching him, he knows that he doesn't have teleport available, so he's going to have to walk to lane. So what, is it going to take like 45 seconds or something like that, 50 seconds for him to reset? So that's enough time for you as a jungler to even go back and then like to just walk out here, recall. Sion gets his recall off, comes back to lane, doesn't push the wave, just holds the freeze, and then you can go back, buy an item, come back top, kill him again because he doesn't have any vision, and you now have item advantage because you've just backed, and then you can shove this wave into tower and get plate. But that's just an option of like macro. Like I know that you're saying, well, I don't have any camps on my top side, so it doesn't really benefit me to be there. True. You do have a buff that's going to be up in a little bit. So maybe after setting up that double gank onto Darius, you could path back and then pick up your blue and then path into the bottom, which isn't like a terrible pathing. And you could look to do something like that. Okay. Nivea is still low on mana. Lissandra still is not shoving this in. This Lissandra player just doesn't have any idea how to play mid lane. That's what's happening here. Literally doesn't have a clue how to play mid lane. She has priority in mid and doesn't come over to contest this blue with her jungler. She just has no idea how to play mid lane. Okay. Let's take a look at this. So Kog'Maw almost dies here. Yeah. Yeah, Caitlyn has a surprising amount of burst. People don't really know about that. And that's okay. You just recall at that point. Okay. Nothing's really happening here. Speed it up a little bit more. Okay. Dragon's about to come up. So let's see how you set yourself up for Dragon here. So let's just look at the current state of the lanes. Anivia has to recall. Anivia doesn't have teleport available. Lissandra has no mana. Lissandra has no charges of corrupting, so Lissandra has no way to get mana unless she levels up, and then she gets a lot of mana. Okay, so you kind of brush camp this. I saw that little juke live. That was pretty nice to watch. Like that behind the back W. So Juani's a fucking baller. Nunu coming in with the snowball. The snowball hitbox seems kind of wonky. And I know past you were getting hit by it like constantly in the second game, so you were thinking that it was wonky too. You were like mispredicting that hitbox like hella hard. Okay. I apparently missed this. I was scratching my eye. All right. Lissandra has no mana, so I'm not sure why she's there. Like, she even has teleport available. Lissandra just has no clue what she's doing. She could teleport. She could just go back instead of being here. Like, as soon as that conflict escalate or de-escalate it off of this brush right here, Lissandra could just walk north over here by blue buff and just recall and then just teleport, because you know that Nunu plays this ward and the control ward at the same time. You clear the first control ward, but the normal vision ward is still there, and that remains accessible for a teleport at any point in time. So I'm not sure why Lissandra's trolling this game. Okay. And Zilean barely gets the ult off on himself, but this is exactly what I said to do going into game one. If you can blow up Zilean, it's exactly what happened. I like that. Lissandra is walled in because she has no mana, so she can't do anything. Scion comes in from the flank. Let's actually look at that Scion teleport, because I saw the results of it, but I didn't see exactly how it went down. So Scion backed. Comes in on the river. Oof. Give it to him, baby. All right. So second Drake is going to go over to us. It's also an Infernal, so that's really nice. Anivia really likes that as somebody who doesn't get a ton of AP. Any bonus AP is nice, and then Caitlyn obviously as well. Lanes aren't really doing anything. This was a weird thing that I saw. You lose like all of your HP holding this wave. I don't know if it's worth it to give him 80 gold. You know, you just lost all of your HP, which means that you lost all of your laning pressure. So let's talk about this. You can say like, oh, well, we're ahead and I can get HP back anytime that I want. You know, Caitlyn has a 40 CS lead. She's got a kill. She's got 2 assists. So she doesn't really need me at this point to carry the lane. Not necessarily true, you know. Walk up and throw a Q when Zilean throws his bombs. Like, that is one thing that I've noticed, that you don't play nearly aggressively enough on Soraka. And that's just like, I think it's like that low elo fear. Ooh. Zilean ulted himself and then Kog'Maw flashed. Yikes. But yeah, that low elo fear of like not having a competent ADC to back you up and whatnot. But Soraka is known actually for her poke. She's not known for her shields. Or I mean her heals. I mean, like, obviously, like, she's the healer champion, right? Everybody knows that. But in lane, she's known for her poke. And you're not stepping up nearly enough. Like, you should not be behind Caitlyn. At all. Caitlyn has a longer auto attack range than you. Like, Caitlyn should be behind you. It's a good silence. Into a good route. Man, Caitlyn just getting a ton of free auto attacks off. Picking up the first turret. This is okay. So while you see Nunu bot, you go ahead and pick up the Rift. It's a good play. This thing was kind of sad to watch. Like, you do get a kill out of it, but both of you die. Yeah, you just overextended really hard. And I was thinking about this too as I was watching it live. And the reason that you're overextended is because Caitlyn has no mana. Like, you can argue, like, oh, vision this, vision that. At the end of the day, like I said, you don't need to know exactly where people are. You just need to have an idea. Well, your idea was that Nunu was bot. And then you know Zillion's not around. And you don't know where Lissandra is. Sorry, you don't know where Lissandra is. So if Soraka has HP and Caitlyn has mana, this is okay to do, but you don't. So this is not okay to do. Like, you're greeding hard for this wave. And there it is. I mean, that was a good silence. But then Soraka just gets blown up. Don't bother wasting the heal there. I mean, she's dead. This is a 3v1 situation. Okay. This was just like fucking... Oh, God. I was so sad for that Kog'Maw just watching this. And there's that. And it looks like you start going for the execute there. Nothing to do. Walks into a bomb. Boom. But yeah. You consider that like a gross outplay or whatever. That I just consider that like gross incompetence on the part of their team. Like, they're just so bad. Because you shouldn't have even gotten 2 kills out of it. But at this point in the game, we can see that we have basically a 4K gold lead. You can start really snowballing that into fights. Obviously, we draft team fight oriented comps. So your win condition is winning team fights and being able to take objectives off of that. And we are doing really good at executing this team comp. It's an easy comp to execute in low elo. Wait, what? Anivia wall? I don't know about that one. Tip for you on the Anivia wall. Take an early second point in W. That's what a lot of people, I know, like Bjergsen and then some of the Korean Anivios do that as well. The second point in W like gives it like just enough range to cover some of those jungle passages that normally aren't there or whatever. So start picking that up before you max E, I guess, or whatever. Like, some people will say at level 4 they take a second point in W. I don't know. Obviously, you can like champion GG that or something, you know. Okay. Scion, hit the turret. Hit top lane turret. They don't need you there. Let's go back. So Darius shoves this into tower and then walks away. And you correctly assume, because you don't have vision of him, so you correctly assume that Darius is probably rotating towards this team fight. So this is good top lane sense. And you place that ward to try to spot him out, but I don't think that you catch him. But he does walk through this control ward, and you're pinging, hey, he's over here. And then Darius just decides to hard end. What the fuck is this? He walks into 4 champions. He hasn't pressed tab a single time in this game. He doesn't realize that the mid lane is 2-0. And Caitlyn has 2 items completed already. And Sejuani's 3-0. With a Soraka. I don't know what the fuck this guy's doing. So Scion, let's think about this. We see Darius. We can ping him a couple times. Now let's look at the current state of the game. Because let's say, you know, you think to yourself, like, I'm going to follow this Darius. So what you're going to do as a Scion, you don't need to watch yourself walk through the jungle. You can just right-click, like right here, basically. You can right-click right in the middle of mid lane because you have an ultimate. So you want to be kind of far away from the fight anyway, so let it ramp up. You can click like right here. And now while you're clicking right here, well, you clicked here once, and your character's going to walk there by itself. You don't need to watch him walk. So instead, you can click on your map over here and see what's going on. So Kog'Maw's dying over here. They got a Nunu and a Lissandra, but if you just press tab, you know Lissandra's 0-2 and Anivia is 2-0. So Lissandra isn't nearly as useful in a fight as Anivia. Just the gold differential and stuff. 3 champions. 4 champions are here versus 2 and maybe Darius. But Darius is 0-1, and you know that he hasn't completed an item yet, and he's the champion that you've been looking at the most this entire game, so you know that he hasn't completed an item yet. Also, something you can take into consideration is the fact that he only has 300 mana. So as you spot him in this ward and he's walking through, you can just left click him. So he's got 300 mana. And I don't know Darius's exact mana cost, but I can tell you that his ultimate costs 100. So I know that even if a fight breaks out where he's able to get a lot of stacks on somebody, he's going to have to W a couple times. I think that costs like 40, 30. Okay, so he has to W a couple times. He'll probably have to pull somebody. That's like 60. Okay, 45. And he's got to queue a couple times. He's gonna queue at least twice. So that's probably like 50. Yeah, so 50. So if I'm just tallying up those numbers in my head, I'm saying, well, he's going to ult. That's 100. He's going to do, 2 of these, and he's going to get 1 of those, and he's going to do 2 of those. And that's like in a best case scenario. That's like a Darius that doesn't walk in and get blown up instantly with his fucking garbage squishy ass build. That's like a Darius who's like fucking in there, and like we're focused on the tank for some reason. Fucking Caitlyn's farming bot lane, and we got 3 champions, and Soraka's just auto attacking Darius, and he really gets his whole combo off. And he just doesn't have the mana to even do that. So even if he gets into the fight, I mean, his ultimate is 1/3 of his mana. So like, what does he do at that point? He simply doesn't have enough to spam all those skills. So Darius is not going to be as helpful as he normally would be in this fight. In addition to that, his build is just fucking garbage. So fuck this guy. Let him walk in. Just ping him there and say, I'm going top. And then you walk your happy ass top. You clear this wave. You clear this wave. You take this turret. Okay. And then you guys overstay. So here, this is all fine. Okay, you get the demolish proc. Okay. Zillion bombs, double stun. It's unfortunate. Nargis. Instead of doing this stuff, just walk around that Anivia wall and go punch the turret a couple times. Like, you're going to die, but you'll knock it at least, 3 or 4 times. And that damage adds up. You're currently dealing, I don't know, 124. Turret's got some armor. So let's say that you do 50 damage per auto. But you hit it 4 times. That's 200 damage. So then it knocks it under 1,000 HP. That's pretty big. So always look for an opportunity to use Scion's passive. Don't just do this stupid bullshit. Good job taking Raptors on the way out. Now, let's look at the state of the game here. Anybody can just click on over here and see what's going to happen. Well, with the recent minion speed changes, like this lane's never going to shove back to you. Unless somebody pushes it, which I guess Lissandra's going to go push it. Yep. So Lissandra could have just set up a freeze here in bottom lane, but she doesn't know how to play mid, so she doesn't know how to play League of Legends. Okay, we see Darius over here, just shoved his lane into the tower. And we decide that we can catch out Darius. He's overextended. He's probably tilted. He did just finish his Triforce. Caitlyn ends up stealing the kill. Sorry, securing the kill. And now we can say to ourselves, well, we can at least pressure Baron. So we get in here. We start doing this. Enemy team just isn't responding fast enough. It's a good thought by Kog'Maw. Caitlyn's just shredding it, though. Caitlyn's dealing too much damage to the Baron at this point. Okay. Nunu flashes in to try and secure the kill. Can't blame him for trying. He is Nunu. Now you recall. I think this is kind of greedy of you to just go directly here to this. You didn't have any information that the enemy team would just simply back off. So you really need more vision to be there. Like you can say like, I'm not visible, but the Baron buff is. Okay, so at least you wait to show up in the lane until Anivia teleports. So that's something. Darius teleports, but nobody fucking cares about Darius. Wall the Nunu. Why is the Nunu being walled? Why not? Why not just wall the Nunu? I don't know. That wall was hella late. You could have just walled him after the snowball. This was something that I was thinking to myself live. And so this is the possibility. So I'm going to go over it with you. So, okay. You're waiting here. Help ping comes out here. I'm not sure what that is. Okay. Throw the Q. All right. Let's take a look at this. Nunu is coming in with a snowball with Darius behind him. You have 1, 2, 3 champions. Okay? Nivea's positioned right here. And you know that Nunu's going to want to keep going forward because he's got Darius behind him. So I say, let Nunu push this snowball and place the wall right there. Right behind him. Like instead of walking so far away, bait them to come forward and then wall. You have Soraka there, so you can trust Soraka, or if you were higher elo, you would trust the Soraka to silence the Darius so that the pole doesn't come out. Or so, like if you were higher elo, like people have a tendency to play more consistently in higher elo. Like as a team, you can tell Soraka, it doesn't matter if you're fucking iron, you can tell Soraka, you know, on voice chat, hey, silence Darius. Like as soon as you see him, silence Darius. And that can just be something that happens in comms. And then boom, you wall them in. And now what? I think that's a double kill if that happens. Because they get walled. They're in the Anivia thing. Soraka has them silenced at this point. Or they're coming unsilenced. But Caitlyn's 6 and 2 with 2.5 items. She's going to be nailing them hard. I think this is a double kill if they get walled in. So always be looking for opportunities to use that wall more than just defensively. You're a more defensive mid laner, and I think that some of it has something to do with the fact that, you know, that you don't play mid especially very much anymore, or you took a break from mid lane or something. So, and some of these champions you're not particularly confident on. But I've noticed that you do play more defensively as a tendency. But just something to keep in the back of your mind moving forward. Like, oh, there's other things that I can do with these champions. There's other ways that I can outplay these people. Okay, so you're going to siege the tower. Silence teleport comes in. Sejuani. A lot of back pings are coming out. You're not in a position where you can really get to this mid lane wave. So there's nothing you can really do there. You're going to get the red buff out of their jungle. I think that the recall here is perfectly fine. You guys are not on the same page. Ends up having a flash. Soraka barriers. I'm not sure that was really necessary, but there it is. Okay. Now you're setting up for Dragon. Blue trinket, so you have intel that Zillion is there. Lysandra is still fucking trolling. She needs to just recall. She can't do anything in this state. Instead, she hits the plant, tries to come over the wall, but fucks it up, I guess. So Lysandra is still trolling. That was a good Anivia wall. Another thing to keep in mind on Anivia is to watch the placement of your ultimate. Like, I know it's difficult because it gets bigger the longer it's on the field. So you're wondering, like, do I put it in a spot where it's good now or it's going to be good in 2 seconds? Oop, fail flash. And my answer to that question, you know, where should I place it really, is always place it in the spot where it's going to be better in 2 seconds. Or if you need to come to, like, a happy middle ground, go to the spot where it's going to be better in 1 second. So if that means that you place it in a spot where they're not in it quite immediately, but the path that they have to walk will go through, like through the bigger radius, because it expands over time. So they'll have to walk through it later. I would say that's almost always better. Okay, and then we'll look at this here again. Like, so just for an example, place the wall like right here centered, because you know that Zillion will have to walk around it. He ends up flashing it anyways, but at least that way, like then if you had placed it right here, then the blue buff would be in it right now. So you'd be able to get it a little bit quicker. Caitlyn fail flashes the wall. Feels bad, man. I'm killing Darius anyways. All right, Caitlyn, step back. Just step back and let Sion walk in and take this turret. And then Sion, I believe that is your demolish that's up, so just turn around and smack the turret once. Use your demolish proc just to like get it off. Okay, so Dwani's going in a little too hard. Ends up getting saved by the Zanyas. Redemption coming out. Quadra kill for the Caitlyn, and you should be able to just push the win here. And here it is. A little bit of troll in there at the end. Spam pings coming out on the Nexus. And that is G motherfucking G. Game 1 done.